It's Wednesday, December 12th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we discover more about Christmas on Cape Cod, learn where new affordable 55-plus rental apartments are ready for new tenants, and get ready for winter with the DPW. Let's start with some news you can use. The long-awaited C Street construction project is ready to start this week on December 13th. The town contracted construction company Robert B. Auer and has several activities planned for the month, including installing construction signs and erosion controls, locating a construction field office trailer in the parking lot at Keys Memorial Beach, and establishing survey controls for drainage improvements. Construction is scheduled to continue through mid-May 2019, then break for the summer, resuming after Labor Day through December 2019. The DPW will provide weekly updates in the Barnstable e-weekly newsletter, available online at www.townofbarnstable.us/townmanager. There is still plenty of holiday spirit to enjoy here on Cape Cod. The Cape Cod Chamber President and CEO, Wendy Northcross, has some suggestions for Christmas on the Cape. With me on the phone today is CEO and President of the Cape Cod Chamber, Wendy Northcross. Wendy, how are you?
I'm great. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas.
Happy Festivus.
That's right.
It's coming up, one of my favorite holidays.
Well, we have a special event at the Chamber for staff, and it's called a Day of Feasting. And we pick a day, and we just start with breakfast, and the food just comes all day long.
Oh, that sounds like a really fun event.
Yeah, it might be a national holiday soon.
Well, talking about events and holidays, boy, Christmas on the Cape, huh?
I know, it's already here. I'm slow with my Christmas shopping, but let me tell you, there's a lot of interest this year. We've done some special promotions for Christmas on Cape Cod, and our web visits have just exploded. So people are very interested in what's being hosted across the Cape to celebrate the holidays.
So with all the different events that are out there, what are some of the highlights coming up?
Well, it's really an embarrassment of riches. We have, if you Google Christmas on Cape Cod, the first free listing on the results is Christmas on Cape Cod, our whole calendar of events. And, it really started with the lighting of the Pilgrim Monument before Thanksgiving, goes right through to first night. But there's some really fun things, like, remember were you ever a kid and went to Jordan Marsh in Boston when they had, like, that village set up and all these lights, and you'd go visit, you'd see Santa Claus. You think you're a New York kid, but
right.
That was like a rite of passage growing up in Massachusetts. Well, it's kind of been recreated at the Cape Codder in Hyannis. They have an enchanted village. Very cool place to bring your kids. Cocoa by the open fire, the courtyard's all lit up, all kinds of cool things to do. So that's a really fun thing to do. So you get everything from that to like the Yappy Holidays events at Cape Cod Beer. And Cape Cod Beer has just released their Vanilla Bean Porter on Friday, December 7th. So that's always, something to cheer about. But
right.
We've got great institutions that have been doing events forever, like the Osterville Christmas Stroll. I think that predates the Nantucket Stroll. We've got a really cool house tour this year in Osterville, Centerville, and Cotuit. So there's some new things along with the old favorites. One of my favorites is to go to Edaville Railroad, take the train ride, see all the Christmas lights. And we used to do that. I remember doing that as a kid with my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of things to do, but people just need to Google Christmas on Cape Cod, bring you right to the Cape Cod Chamber site, and we've got all throughout the entire Cape, and even into the islands in Plymouth, everything to do. So don't sit at home by the fire, get out there and be merry.
Right, we might even have a few snow flurries to make the season, right?
It puts you in the mood, I'm telling you, puts you in the mood, unless you have to shovel.
All right. And talking about home for the holidays, the new initiative, the 365, can you talk a little bit about that today?
Right. Well, it's the housing issue for, affordable rental housing for Cape Codders, and we're not talking about subsidized housing, we're not talking about Section 8, we're not talking about that end of the spectrum. We're talking about people fully employed, don't want to own a home, want to rent something because they've either newly started in their career or they're downsizing, whatever. That we have a lack of that type of housing on Cape Cod. We need more rental housing. We need more regular housing for people to buy, not big fancy second homes. So we've really been on the media tour with Housing Assistance Corp and others to kind of get that message out. They've launched a new program, and it's starting to take off, which is really gratifying. So between helping HAC with their Rent 365 program, and then working with some of the towns to get accessory dwelling unit bylaws modified so that they're more friendly, so people will actually create an in-law apartment in their homes. We're seeing some success. We're seeing a little bit of traction, which is positive. I mean, it's warming my heart because I think it means Cape Codders are hearing the message and they're stepping up to make some changes.
Right. And let's, workforce housing, but also lifestyle housing as people are trying to downsize.
Exactly.
There's folks that are looking at retirement and saying, we can't handle this big home and all the things that go into home ownership. So there's from the young professional right up through we're just starting our retirement tour here. Housing is needed for everyone.
That's exactly right. And some people, their biggest asset is their home. They want to sell it and live off of those proceeds. And, an efficient way to do that is find a rental, and then you bank the rest, and then you have, that security of that. But if they can't, they can probably sell their home, but what are they moving into has become the dynamic. So the Rent 365 program, we're finding Housing Assistance Corp reported this week at the Chamber Board meeting that over 70 homeowners have inquired about the program, which helps people transition from maybe a seasonal rental, just instead of vacation rentals by the week. They help people find a good tenant, help with good year-round rental practices, help them with legal, referrals, and get them a good year-round tenant, which sometimes is less wear and tear on your property because people appreciate that rental. They don't want to, be booted out. Right. So they do the right things with the home. They take care of it. So there's all of that kind of messaging is resonating. 70 people have applied or have inquired. 5 people have already signed up, and it's a pilot program that they're hoping to get 25 people, soon to try it, and we've already got 5. So that's in a short time frame. That's a good indicator.
Right. So anybody who knows a second home owner, direct them to this program. That could be found where, Wendy?
I think if you go to capehousing.org,
okay,
you will find on that website there's a link to the white paper. It's got some really interesting graphics, real easy read, and then just call Housing Assistance Corporation. Ask for their Rent 365 program just to get some more information. They'd be happy to sit down and talk to you.
Fantastic. It's a slow roll up the hill to develop housing here, but waiting for some big program to start is not really the answer here. We need to start in a lot of different places.
Well, as Elisa Galazzi of Housing Assistance Corp likes to say, we need to pull a lot of levers all at the same time.
Right. Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Wendy. We'll catch up with you next month.
Thanks, Paula. Take care.
You too now.
Bye-bye.
One of the largest affordable rental projects in the town of Barnstable is now accepting applications for an active 55-plus community. Where are these apartments and what is the process? Arden Kadrin, housing coordinator, joins us in studio. Housing, always a conversation to have here in the town of Barnstable and actually Cape-wide. A brand new development is open for business and starting to take applications for some affordable homes as well, apartments, as well as market rate. With me today, Arden Kadrin, housing coordinator, town of Barnstable. This is exciting news. Everly is kind of open.
Everly is taking applications. They hope to lease up by late March, early April, and this is the largest amount of rental housing, new rental housing the town of Barnstable probably has ever seen. So it's a really great opportunity for our residents, as well as having 23 affordable units, which again is a very large amount of new affordable units to come on the market at any one time.
Right. So let's back up a little bit. If folks don't know, explain where Everly is and how this project actually came to be.
So Everly is on Commerce Road, which is in the industrial park right off of Route 132. It's a project that's been in the making for a very long time. It started out as something slightly different. It was more of an age-in-place campus with assisted living and a memory care facility, and that never happened. I think maybe the economy killed that, and so the original owners sold off the project to Greystar, which is a very large rental housing developer in this country, and they turned it into 225 units of rental housing for active adults. So that means somebody a household member who is over 55.
Okay, so this is apartments, right? 1 and 2 bedroom?
1 and 2 bedroom, all rental apartments with a lot of amenities. There's some outdoor amenities. There's a pool and there's gardens and bocce courts and horseshoe pits and indoor amenities. There's a library and a game room and a clubhouse and fitness studios, and what I think will be very appealing to people is it's pet friendly.
Pet friendly. There's a little dog park I hear too as
There's
well.
a little dog park, actually a pet spa
Right.
in the lobby.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about the whole process of lifestyle living. So we hear so much that our young professionals have no place to live, our workforce is struggling to find homes on the market because they're being gobbled up by second homeowners. So this actually could maybe take some of that bottleneck away.
It might take the bottleneck away. You know, a lot of studies have shown that seniors would like to downsize, move into something other than a large single-family home that has a lot of responsibilities with it, into something else, but those options don't exist. 81% of Barnstable's housing stock is single-family homes. We don't have a lot of rentals. We don't have a lot of multifamilies. And so this is really an opportunity for some of those seniors who are looking to relieve themselves of some home ownership responsibilities and come into a rental. And then their units will free up for families who want the larger single family home.
Right, but this could also alleviate some of those houses being bought by second homeowners where they don't want to get the second snowplow person, you know, affordable notwithstanding that there's other people that here want to like try living on Cape in their retirement. This might be a solution for that as well.
This might be a solution for that. This is actually a new product for Everly. For Greystar, excuse me, the Everly is a new product. So I think they're testing the market a little bit as well. Cape Cod was a great place to do that because our population is aging. And so I think we'll find out who it actually is who is going to be attracted to these units.
Right. 23, these are deed restricted?
Deed restricted affordable, so there are some income limits as to how much income the household can earn, and then the rents are restricted to be affordable to that household. So the rents now for a one bedroom, the rent not including utilities is $1,014, and a 2-bedroom it's $1,123. I expect the utilities to be rather low. It's a multifamily, brand new construction. I don't expect that those utilities would be high. So those are the capped rents. They can change each year a little bit as HUD changes our income limits. Usually a very small percentage, single-digit percentage.
Right, and those are affordable to some of these seniors that are, you know, one person's still working and one has already retired. When you say that one person has to be 55?
One person in the household has to be 55, yes.
Right.
So not everybody.
Right. So let's talk about the area. It's the industrial park.
It is.
But when we think about that, it's really close to everything, the hospital, the mall, other commerce areas.
It is. It's and there's a lot of other housing there now as well. There's the Village Green has 120 units, and Carriage House has 30 units. The town received a MassWorks grant that will be putting sidewalks in response to the Village Green project. There's a bus stop, and the RTA moved a bus route there. It's very close. You're in downtown Hyannis, so it's a great location.
You can walk to Whole Foods.
You can walk to Whole Foods every day for lunch.
Every day for lunch. This is really, really a great project. So talk about the apartment themselves. What are those like? I mean, when people think affordable or they think assisted living, are there railings everywhere, or is it?
So there's no services with this.
Okay.
This is independent living. The apartments are are beautiful. They're brand new. They have modern kitchens. The washer and dryer unit is in the apartment. So it's, 55 is still very young and still very active, but obviously a range of people. But it's not for people who need care or who need services.
Right. And then we talked a little bit about this pre-interview is inclusionary housing. Tell me what that is.
So the way the town was able to get 23 affordable units at this development is that the town has an inclusionary housing ordinance, which was put into place in 2001, and that requires any project, any residential project of 10 units or more to provide 10% of their units as affordable. So because there's 225 units here, 23 of them needed to be affordable, deed restricted affordable. And that's how we were able to secure 23 affordable units for the town of Barnstable.
So does this relieve some of that, we did the Housing Assistance Corporation had their case study and realized that there was only 1% of available housing here on Cape Cod. Does that help relieve some of those numbers?
I can't imagine that it won't. Like I said, 225 units at one time is a lot of units to come on the market. 23 units of affordable housing at one time is a lot of opportunity for people. So I expect the lottery to be well attended. There's the affordable units.
So let's talk about the lottery. So this is one of those affordable lotteries. I've been through that process, so I know it's a little nerve-wracking, but you need applications. So
so that's how the 23 tenants will be chosen. The 23 affordable tenants will be chosen through an application process. The applications are available here at Town Hall. They're available at the Sturgis Library and the Hyannis Library and from the developer. You fill out an application, and that application will determine you to be income eligible based on the information you provide them. And then there's a lottery where each application will be selected and numbered. And according to the number, they will be offered an opportunity to lease a unit. There's also a local preference. So that means 70% of the units will be offered first to Barnstable residents. So that means you live or work here already. So 70% of those units will be chosen first for Barnstable residents, and then they get to go into the general pool for the other residents as well. So Barnstable residents actually have 2 chances to get on that list.
Wow. And just think about that. If, some of those residents here choose this new apartment or are chosen for this new apartment, then those houses that they're currently living in are coming up for workforce housing or affordable housing for families.
Absolutely. Those units will become available no matter where it is that they're living. Right. So it'll be exciting to see.
It is really exciting, and I hadn't realized how much housing was in that area at this point in time, and it's perfect because it doesn't really impact wastewater. There's infrastructure there already?
There is. These projects are on sewer and obviously public water, so there is infrastructure there, which is the key to creating multifamily housing.
Fantastic. Thanks for the update, Artis.
Sure, thank you.
Plowing snow at night with blowing winds, it's almost impossible to see the edge of the road. Help the Department of Public Works out this winter and stake the perimeters of your driveway and yard. It's not too early to start thinking about winter storms. With me today, we're out here at the DPW yard. Rob Steen and Joe Marshall, it's almost time for you guys to head out for storms.
It absolutely is. Yes. We got the crews built up, gear's getting ready, and we've been watching the weather now for 2 to 3 weeks. With that cold spell last week with Thanksgiving, we got kind of a little scared there, so we've been starting to snipe and form.
So the town of Barnstable and DPW has created a brochure for folks to really have them understand how snow and ice gets cleared from our streets. Can you give us a little information on categories of storms?
Sure. So that came because we did, for those of you that remember, back in 2015 we had Juno. And that was a very large storm with a lot of impact on us. And we would have people calling DPW saying, well, we don't understand. You always remove snow. What's the problem this time? Well, it's a different storm than the other storms. We realized that we failed in terms of communicating expectations, that different storms are going to have different outcomes based on how the department's configured. So what we did is we looked at that and we looked at what our abilities are. And those 3 categories, A, B, and C, are based on DPW's abilities. And we looked at where we can do what we can do and where we can't, and said, okay, we're going to break into 3 categories: Category A, Category B, Category C. And roughly, if you have to try to think about it from an inch perspective, Category A is up to about 18 inches of snow, less than an inch an hour, generally a storm that lasts less than 24 hours. Our traditional, typical storm, and we traditionally get like an 8 or 9 incher, right in the sweet spot of Category A. Category B is delineated from A in the fact that when we get to Category B, the small trucks, and you'll see some of them around here that do our secondary roads, and in town there's 2 sort of forms of roads that we'll talk about here, main roads and secondary roads. The small trucks that do our secondary roads start to get stuck pretty routinely in Category B. We experienced that in Juneau, where at one point in time, basically our entire small truck fleet was stuck. And we spent more time rescuing them than we did moving snow. We eventually had to stop doing that. And that's what significantly happens from A to B, is in Category B, we start pulling back out of the secondaries. We've pulled out of the parking lots at that point in time. We're throwing all the heavy gear we can on the main roads, trying to keep main roads open. If the storm gets above a 24-inch storm and more than an inch an hour for any extended period of time, because the accumulation comes pretty hard at that point, we're now starting to get into a Category C. When we get into a Category C, the smaller dump trucks you see in terms of the 6-wheel dump trucks, they start to get stuck all the time. In fact, during June, I'd look out the window and there was one stuck right in front of us at our gas pumps. They just become ineffective. And at that point in time, really, and then all we had rolling was 5 loaders and a 10-wheeler. Now we've beefed up the fleet. We have the Oshkoshes. We have different additional 10-wheelers in the fleet. We should be better, but really what we're going to be focusing on is the hospital routes and life safety. What does the police department need from us? What does the fire department need from us? And the hospital routes particularly. Anything left in terms of capacity will go on to main roads and the principal main roads, but generally speaking, if we're in a Category C, people's expectations need to be, we are going to be snowed in. It will be a while before we get into roads. When we do, they'll be hard pack. It's going to feel very much like what we experienced in 2015, hopefully better, but kind of similar outcomes.
Right. And Joe, there's a lot of things that residents can do to actually help you guys out on the roads. What are some of the suggestions you have for folks?
Well, in snow and ice preparation, we ask you guys, ask the folks to stake their properties so we can see their the turf, we can see their driveway, we can see the road line, so we're not peeling up their grass. Also, is just hear the warnings. Be safe. Stay off the roads when asked to. Try to let us do our job and not hinder and get in our way.
Right. Why do you not want them on the roads? If you say they can't park on Main Street, why is that?
Well, like Rob was alluding to, is if we're in those kind of category storms, the public tends to get stuck. And then we're spending time trying to rescue and help emergency response get them off the road, and that takes us away from our job.
Right. So the most important thing that we really want folks to understand is this is all done for emergency purposes. So if they do have a problem, there's a route to and from them.
Right. And we during June, we had to plow into people to get people out so the ambulances could get in. But to Joe's point on staying off the road, so what we find happens is, for instance, the airport rotary, it's just chock-a-block full of cars. They can't go anywhere, and we can't plow it even around them. It's not even like we can ignore them and sort of work around them. They're now in the way, or South Street at one point in time was full of it, and that's a hospital route. So ambulances were having a difficult time getting down into there because the road was full of cars that had gone out to see what had happened and had gotten stuck. It's not a good idea, whether it be a hurricane or a significant snowstorm, to go wandering around to see what's going on until the event's done and everything's cleaned up and you've been told that it's safe to move around.
Right. And let's talk just a little bit briefly about the salt and sanding protocols here. These, it seems like you pre-treat roads now, so you've got a jump on this if you've got some ice coming.
So here's the key to this game. It's much easier to peel up snow. If you think of a road like sort of if my hand's the road, if the snow is adhered to the road, it's going to be very difficult to get it up off the road. If you can leave a little layer of water between the snow and the road, and we call that the brine layer, and if it's salty, it doesn't freeze because salt water freezes at lower temperatures than otherwise. And if we have some other mixtures in there, it freezes at a much lower temperature. If you can leave that little layer of water, then the trucks, as they come to plow it up, can just peel all that up very easily, and it avoids hard pack. Once you've lost your brine layer, you're going to start packing it down, hard packing, you start to try to melt it from the top, and that never works well. So the whole philosophy of the salting program is establish the brine layer, plow a few passes, reestablish the brine layer, but maintain that as long as we can throughout the storm so that we can get down to pavement best we can. So that's the philosophy of that. And then on black ice calls, that's just a traditional, it's icy out there, we need to get out there and get some material down to try to deal with it.
And you're all set now? You've got enough people out there to plow this year?
Oh yes, yeah, our routes are full, you know, between town and subcontracted plow trucks. So no, we're ready to go. Our salt barn's full, and you know, and we got our machines, we got the equipment to take care of it.
Really? Just need a few flakes.
That's it.
Excellent.
Or not. We're okay not.
We're okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It can stay 70 all winter. That'd be good.
That would be great, wouldn't it? Any last words for residents?
No, I want to go back to the staking thing real quick. It's really difficult to understand how difficult it is to see at night. And obviously, you know, I come from the engineering side. So when I first came here, I went out for a couple nights with some of the plow drivers. When it's 2 in the morning and it's dark and the wind's blowing snow everywhere, where the edge of the road is not intuitive, which you'd think, because during the middle of the day, it's like, well, it's right there. Why do you not see that? That's why that staking is so valuable. When you have those stakes out there and that driver can see, okay, that's where the edge is, that helps them tremendously and allows them to move quickly through the route. Otherwise, they're having to sort of literally feel their way along. And mistakes happen. So please, 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 if you have an opportunity, go ahead and do that. That really helps us a bit.
And this is the time the ground's not frozen. Here's a look at the community calendar. The 15th Annual Telethon for Hope will air Thursday, December 13th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. on the cable channels 98 and 99. Help the Housing Assistance Corporation raise funds for programs that continue to give hope to their clients who need it most. More information on their new viewing party format and how to get involved or donate, www.hackoncapecod.org. Here is a look at the upcoming meetings for boards, commissions, and committees. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works. For you, I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.